Hi guys! So the other day I was going to the store to buy a book for school, which was F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, and I just started thinking about old books that I've read during my school career, and I was like, I should make a video about my top 5 favorite books that I've read for school so far, in no particular order. I'm probably going to go from like the lowest grade to the highest grade of my academicness, yes. And by top 5, I mean like the top 6, because I have my top 5 and then I had a really close contender for number 5, so I'm just going to show you 6. The first book I remember reading for school and actually liking was Bridge to Terabithia by Katherine Paterson. Yeah, that's her name. And I remember reading this book in the 4th grade and crying my eyes out at the end when I remember watching the movie for this and crying my eyes out at the end. And I remember thoroughly enjoying this book. Like, this was the first book I think I ever thoroughly enjoyed, and the first book that I remember just absorbing from school. Actually, the first book I ever actually thoroughly enjoyed was Green Eggs and Ham, but we'll count this one as the first book I actually enjoyed. And the next book that I read, I was in 8th grade. A lot of these books are from 8th grade because I had this literature class where all we did was read books. We had an English class, and then some people took Spanish 1, like a high school credit, and then some people took literature, and I took literature, and this was the book, one of the books that we read, and it's called The Wave. I've never really heard anyone talk about The Wave, so basically The Wave is about this high school history teacher who is trying to tell his students like how people could have fallen for the Holocaust and all that stuff, and they're like, no, I would never fall for something like that. And so he kind of creates this group that's almost like the Nazis, where it's like it has the same idealistics and things happen, chaos, romance, all that stuff happen. And it's a really good book, and I remember reading this and I would be so far ahead of the class. I read this ahead of schedule, and it was just one of the first books that I've ever done that before, and it was during school. It wasn't like a summer reading book. The next few books I don't have with me because I got them from my school. So the third book that I have is Stargirl, and Stargirl is about this girl who kind of doesn't fit in. She's kind of off the beaten path, and this guy starts to like befriend her, but everyone at school's like, oh my god, you should not befriend her. She's totally lame and weird. And he just kind of has this like inner battle with that. And then the girl, she lives in a pretty crazy family, and it's just kind of cool to read a book like that, especially when you're in 8th grade and you're kind of not on the beaten path yourself with the rest of your classmates. So that was like one of the books that I really connected with, because while I'm not Stargirl crazy, I definitely was not like the other people in my class. I liked the arts and I liked singing, and they all liked basketball. So it was like, that was kind of like me in that time. The next book that we read in 8th grade as well was To Kill a Mockingbird, which I also had to read in 9th grade. And reading it in 9th grade really like established that love for it, but I read it originally in 8th grade. And I remember the first part of that book, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a school book, it's so boring, I don't want to read this. But then you get into the second half of the book, and that's when just stuff goes crazy, and you're like actually in the story and not just getting background, and the trial, and it's just so intense when you read it, the second part of that story. And I remember I was so glued to that book, and it just like, it kind of changed my opinion on things and made me realize how different life is now compared to what it was all those years ago. And not even all those years ago. I don't remember exactly when the book took place, but it was like, I want to say it wasn't that long ago from our current time period. The 6th book that I read that like really kind of stuck with me throughout the years, it's obviously not in my top 5, but I just wanted to put it out there anyway, especially because I have it. It is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, which I just wrote a paper on this year, and I wrote a paper on it last year, so I've read it twice. And actually on my paper that I did this year, I got like a 96 on it. Just saying. This book kind of makes you rethink things, and you really, sometimes it was difficult to read because you had to go back and you had to reread things over and over again to fully understand what they were trying to say. Even the second time I read it, you still had to do that over, even though you understood the story. When I read it the first time in 10th grade, I was like, oh, this book is so hard, I don't understand it. And then reading it again in 11th grade, I read it and I kind of appreciated it more the second time I read it. So that's a good lesson for your people in high school. If you reread books that you read before, now knowing the ending, understanding the concepts, then I think you will enjoy them a lot better than you did the first time. Although this book is still kind of frustrating with its writing, it was meant to be this way. He didn't write it like that by accident. He purposefully did this to make the people reading the book really think and really absorb what he was trying to say. If you read something over and over again, it's going to absorb with you better. So I think he did that on purpose, and that was good on him. He definitely got his goal across with this book, and that was one of the things I really appreciated about Fahrenheit 451. Thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and maybe it'll get you into the classic kind of books, because I know I never really thought of myself as a classic reader or a book person that likes to read adult books or books like that you are assigned in school. But after rethinking about it, maybe I am that kind of person. I just don't know any books to read like that. Of course, I love my YA, I love my contemporary, I love my supernatural, but it's not always so bad to read things like Fahrenheit 451 and that kind of stuff. Thank you guys for watching. I will talk to y'all later. Goodbye!